What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss Show. In today's episode, overall, I wanted to talk on people getting too offended. It's one of those things where I'm like, if I crack a joke, then I got people like looking at me like, oh, like they giving me a whole history lesson, pretty much. And here's the thing, like I understand if your sense of humor is different from my sense of humor. That makes sense. Everybody's sense of humor is different. There's been times where people have told me jokes, and there's been times where I've heard jokes that's so dark where I'm like, bruh, I don't even know how people can even crack jokes like that. Like, there's at times when I'm watching Family Guy, because Family Guy is like one of my favorite shows to watch. So there's at times like where they will crack jokes, and I'm like, okay, now that's going too far. Like, but here's the thing, though. I'm like, I'm not gonna go into a whole history lesson about it, though. Like that's their sense of humor, and that's the one thing. Like, as I get older, like when I hear people, there's the one comedian, Pete Davidson, where he talks on like he's okay with like people cracking. Well, I don't know about everybody, but there was a time that I think, was I in Vegas when that had happened? I can't remember where I was at when I was watching that, but I remember he was doing, it was like a roasting show, and he was on there, and the guy had cracked a joke about Pete Davidson's father. Now, for those that don't know Pete Davidson's father's situation, his dad passed away during the 9/11 attackings. His father was a fireman, and then even it was like years later, Pete Davidson, or I mean, well, not years later, but it was like sometime after that, Pete Davidson ended up on Kevin Hart's YouTube channel. And when he was on his YouTube channel, he was just like, "Oh, you guys have a father? How's that?" And he even cracks jokes. And so I'm like, there people is just like high tolerance of like dark humor and dark jokes and all of that. Like other people is going to be different from it. And it's just with me, I'm like, when they're just getting too offended with me, I'm like, hey yo, look, like, and then that's the thing though, because it was just recently where I had a friend, they got on me about a post that I shared. And I guess it was about like it was overall, I don't even know, like I ain't trying to like say like the wrong thing, or make a like say a name, and it ain't even the group of people that's saying that, but I'm just gonna say it's a group of people that it's one of those like genderless groups of people. I'm not gonna say any names because I'm not too clear on which name is supposed to like be in the sentence and stuff. But anyways, but there was a post that was something about like people wanting to call like parents birthing people, and I found it funny. I was all like, hey yo, like that's funny, like that's something that I would like to test out on my mom to just see how she would react. And I brought it up to my mom. Now here's the thing, my mom, she's a down south person, like my mom was she was like came from that era where it was like, overall, like you ain't gonna be looking your parent in the face calling them birthing person. So that's why I was just cracking a joke about it. And it was like, and the funny thing about it, it wasn't even like it was something that I went out of my way to search for. It was a friend of mine. I don't know if it's like a mutual friend, if they're friends with each other on social media, but it was a friend of mine's that shared it. I found it funny, so I reposted it. And yeah, it was a problem that I reposted it, but that ain't even the only time where I've offended this person. It was another time, and I'm like, I just get to the point where I'm like, man, like I look, there are going to be jokes that people crack, and then they said something about like it like, well, they were trying to compare like the black history with like the LGBTQ community. And I was like, I really wanted to say something, but I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna hold my tongue. I'm not gonna say anything, but I'm gonna just let you know this right now. Black history is black history. The LGBTQ community is the LGBTQ community. There ain't no comparison. Period. Okay? So that's why I was like, when they tried to get on me about that, then was all like, you claim to know about black history. I'm like, what is black history? And I'm like, I already know that this is going to lead into an argument. So I'm like, I'm not even going to respond. I'm just going to take the post down and go about my day. But it's that type of stuff where I'm like, hey, yo, I can post about me being depressed, or post about, hey, support my YouTube channel, and post about all these other different things. You see that one thing and you want to argue about that. I haven't heard or seen you in years, You want to argue about that. Like that type of stuff, it's just, I just don't like letting that type of stuff slide. I'm like, hey, yo, like, talk to me on a regular basis. So it's like, at least then you can kind of know what my sense of humor is. So it's like, oh, okay, like, you know me. You know the type of jokes that I crack. You know the type of things I share. And it ain't even my first time sharing stuff like that. So I'm like, I just don't I really just don't understand it. You know, it's like when I overall share a post, I'm like, I'm not sharing this post to offend you. I'm literally sharing this post to just, for jokes, for comedy reasons. And then my thing is, it's like, it ain't no different when people with their like political views. I've seen people in their political views where they've came out, friends of mine, where they've came out and said that they support Trump. And I'm like, bruh, how though? But it ain't something where I'm like, if I'm gonna message, and that's the thing. There's like, cause I know, like, the differences between me and my friends, where I'm like, they can make a post about how they support Trump, care less about it. They make a post talking about like, oh, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling sad and depressed. I message them and I ask them, hey, like, how's life treating you? Like, what's going on? Like, all my thing is like, all that political stuff, the dark humor, all of that. I'm pushing all of that aside. I don't care what jokes they're cracking. I don't care what president they're voting for or whatever. But I'm like, at the end of the day, to me, I'm like, to keep friends, around you, check up on them. Don't argue with them about some jokes that they're sharing. It's like literally a post that I didn't even create. It wasn't even a post that I created. It was created by somebody else. I shared it. So I'm like, comment on their post talking about that. Don't come at me. I'm like, I'm just sharing it for laughs. Like, yeah, but you can't share stuff like that, I guess, nowadays. And so, yeah, I'm like, my thing is, look, if you're gonna get too offended about things, like, that's why I tell people, I'm like, look, when you're on the internet, when you're on just overall like social media or anywhere, you gotta have thick skin. You can't be on the internet, like, cause imagine, my thing is like, imagine me being who I am today, the person where I'm reacting to all these different videos, doing all these different like doing all this different type of content, right? Let's say if I were to watch McNasty's videos and I'm doing reaction videos, like, not overall like talking on like how good he is at the game or how good his editing is or anything else. I'm only talking about like the jokes that they would crack, and I'm just like, oh, those jokes are too dark. Like, do you know how much of a mood killer that would be, like, in the video and stuff? Like, it's that type of stuff where I'm like, no, you gotta have thick skin when watching videos, because my thing is, like, it wouldn't be no different if that was in a movie. It wouldn't be no different if it was, like, your favorite musician or favorite actor. Like, you gotta, regardless of who it is, you gotta have thick skin. You can't let stuff get you too offended and too upset. Now your friends is looking at you all like, oh, well, they're the offended friends. So I'm like, I can't share and do certain things on the internet anymore because I know that they're gonna get offended. Like that, and this happened like maybe a couple of days ago where I had shared this post and offended them, like message, where they didn't message me, but they commented on the post like early in the morning, and I'm like, what? I'm looking at the post, and I was so tired and so confused. Because I think I also, on top of that same night, I stayed up till like, well, it was like that morning, but I stayed up, I think it was up until like 3-4 a.m. recording videos. So when I woke up, it was like maybe 9 something, and I check my phone. That's what I usually do. And yeah, I seen that, and I was just like, all right, you know what? Let me just go ahead, take this post down. I'm not even gonna respond, because last time I responded, next thing you know, I had like other friends, because I had started getting mad. I remember the first time where this, like, me and this friend, we got into it. I started getting angry because I'm like, hey, yo, like, it's been a whole year of this pandemic, and I've literally have been through every emotion possible: depression, anger, happiness. Like, I've talked about all these different things. You decide to talk on this one thing, and then it leads into an argument. Now I got all my other friends, they looking at me like, oh, you're getting angry, you're getting up, like, you just need to relax. And so I'm like, when that had happened, I was like, yeah, I remember that had me upset the whole day. And it's stuff like that where I'm like, look, if you're not gonna like check up on me or message me, see how I'm doing and all, because I'm like, look, the jokes, all of the stuff that, either I support or don't support. And I'm not saying that I don't support the LGBTQ community. my thing is like anybody, like I've had to work around people that that's a part of that community. I've had to, I'm friends with people. I went to school with people that's a part of that community. Most likely, there's fans of mine on YouTube that's a part of that community. I'm not going to share or say or do any. My thing is like I will, because my thing is like I laugh about like, so with jokes like regarding like black people, right? I laugh about jokes like that, and but at the end of the day, like the not background story, but the like meaning behind me laughing at like a joke about black people is that I find it funny. It's something where I'm all like, I've seen that before. I find it funny. I'm not gonna be all offended or like, not rude, but I'm not gonna be that person where I'm like, oh, I gotta call you out on this, or I gotta be all upset and angry and mad and all that crap. But it's like it doesn't matter, because my thing is like there's far more worse things out there going on. Like, we really gonna talk about the LGBTQ community and what a joke that's being shared about them versus there's people a part of the I heard the one story where it was like I think it was a transgender woman was attacked on the bus for something, like literally for being a transgender woman. There's so many stories out there that exist like that. Like, where are you when them stories are being posted? Where are you when them stories are being, like, that's why I'm like, you can't. And then it's like you're gonna bring up like black history. I'm like, look, the black history that runs through my veins ain't got nothing to do with the LGBTQ community. Okay, there might be some similarities, but at the end of the day, two different things. Two different things. So that's why I'm like, yeah, it's like stuff like that where I'm like, please, it's just the next time I'm just hoping and praying. I'm like, because I just at this point I just don't know what to share on social media anymore. Like, usually I'm like, I'm sharing all a bunch of different things, but I'm like, I just don't even know what to share anymore. I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna share something about sports. I'm like, oh, LeBron James flopped. It's like somebody gonna come like, oh, well, LeBron, like, getting mad about it. And I'm like, man, it's stuff like that where I'm like, I don't want to, because these are like people that I'm like, I'm cool with. These are people that I've known them for some time and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to tell them, I'm like, hey, unfriend me if you don't like my stuff. But I'm like, dang, like, talk to me. Like, let me, but it's like when you're coming at me like mad about some stuff, I'm like, fam, look, you gotta understand. There's far more worse things. I tell people that all the time. There are far more worse things going on in this world. Like, you're getting offended. That's why I'm like, that's why it's like stuff like with YouTube when people is getting mad at me about reaction videos. And I'm all like, fam, there's far more worse videos out there on the internet. But you're like just soloing my videos or my post out so you could just talk on that. I'm like, there's far more worse stuff going on. Like, read some articles, read some stories. Go, like, I'm pretty sure there's websites you can go to read a person's story where they talk on like how they were attacked or how they were verbally abused or whatever, how people don't accept them. You honestly think a joke or a meme or whatever is going to, like, that's going to be, that's the home run, like, that's it, like, that's the final straw, like, no. My thing is like, look, to compare, if somebody calls me the N-word in a YouTube video, right? So I guess to like put myself to like show the similarities in this situation, somebody calls me the N-word on YouTube, I would rather deal with that than to be in an Emmett Till situation where I'm being snatched out my house, beaten, to death, and then like all these other crazy things that happen to Emmett Till. I would rather get called the N-word than to be in George Floyd's situation where I literally have a knee going across my neck for like, 8 minutes and stuff, to the point where I can't even breathe. And now they're trying to defend their actions on what they did to me. I would rather get called the N-word on a YouTube video or anywhere than to be in Trayvon Martin's situation where he was literally a kid just walking home and he had this man track him down, fight him, and then when he decided to fight back, when Trayvon Martin decided to fight back, the man pulls a gun out and shoots and kills him. Like, you can't compare some internet stuff to what actually be going on in the world. Do you think at the end of the day, what would you think that person would rather deal with? Like, talking to just anybody that's listening, to the friends, family, whoever. At the end of the day, what do you think Trayvon Martin would rather be dealing with? Being called the N-word today on the internet? or fighting for his life back in what, 2012? I think that's when that situation had went down. That man would still be alive today. At the end of the day, what? He's just getting some racist comments on the internet. But I'm saying like that, he's not even here with us. He didn't even get to experience a whole life. Man ain't got to, he didn't get a chance to get married, have kids, none of that. So that's why I'm like, yeah, when people, when they try to like get on me about jokes and memes that I share online, I'm like, you gotta understand, it's jokes, it's memes, it's the internet. Like, I'm not, going up to people like in the LGBTQ community telling them, oh, you gotta live this lifestyle, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. I don't care. None of that stuff matters to me. Live your life, do what you wanna do. If you wanna be called a certain pronoun, or you want to dress a certain way, or you just want to live a life that's different than your average person, go right ahead. You don't need no approval through me. What, like, honestly, like, do you think that you really need approval through me to be able to live the life that you want to live? That is your life. They ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm just another random person in the world. So at the end of the day, like, none of that stuff matters. Memes, jokes, none of that. The stuff that ends up becoming a news story in the middle of the night, okay? Or a friend or a family member is talking on their experience somewhere. That's the real stuff. That's the stuff that we need to be worried about. That's the stuff that we need to be talking about. But and I think I remember I said that probably before. I was just like the last time I got into it with this person. And yeah, I'm all like, like, hey yo, there's like real things that's like going on in the world. Like I think that's what it was. It was about like the whole situation with the skunk being like kicked out of Space Jam from, or the, for Looney Tunes and stuff. And I'm like, fam, there's like far more worse things going on in the world. I'm like, kicking a skunk off of Space Jam. That's like what, like out of just the 1,000, not even that, out of the like millions, okay, of stories of, men, women, kids, freaking whoever, being sexually assaulted or abused or whatever, like where they're, that's like real life stuff. Do you think at the end of the day, like, what would they rather be dealing with? Watching that skunk on Looney Tunes or actually dealing with some stuff like that in real life? Like I'm saying, like, people, they just get, I'm probably, people try to cancel me for some stuff like this, but am I right? Am I right or am I wrong? Like, that's what I'm curious on. Because I'm like, at the end of the day, look, like, there's stuff that goes on in this world that we should talk about that, requires way more attention than some meme online. Because I'm like, fam, there's memes out there being shared about black people. And it's probably amongst like racist communities and friends and all that crap. And so it's, yeah, it's, at the end of the day, I'm all like, hey, yo, look, if I've offended anybody, I'm like, I don't want to be that person to tell you, like, hey, well, then unfriend me, unfollow me. But I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I got to stop having the sense of humor that I have and stuff. Like, oh, I can't laugh at certain things or I can't share certain things because it offends you. So now, like, every time when I see a joke, I gotta be like, oh, that offends my friends, I can't laugh at it. Like, a person shouldn't have to live life like that. Nobody should have to live life like that. I'm not saying that everything in the world should be found funny and everything in the world should become a meme or a joke online. Because I'm saying there's stuff out there that goes down where I'm all like, hey, yo, that's messed up, that's sad. I'm like, and then it's like, we're gonna talk just like strictly on internet stuff. I'm like, man, if this post compared to the post and the things that I've legit seen people getting killed online. I've seen animals get killed online. Like, what other things have I seen that was crazy and stuff? Like, yeah, I've seen some of the most craziest stuff. And I'm like, this meme, like, at the end of the day, I see that meme 100 times over and over again than to see one video of a person getting killed. Like, viewer discretion is advised. Like, what I'm about to mention might be a little bit too shocking to some people. Well, speaking of shocking, like, yeah, there's the shock videos. I was talking about that yesterday in one of my friends' streams how there's like certain shot like two girls, one cup, two guys, one horse, one man, one jar, like all those crazy videos and stuff. But to like, besides those videos of people getting killed. Like I seen one video of a man getting his head chopped off with a chainsaw. Two men. Two men. Like that's some stuff that you shouldn't see. What else? I seen one woman. There was a video of a woman getting stabbed to death, and that's what I did. I told people, I'm like, look, stop sharing stuff like that because I don't like it. If you continue on sharing stuff, I give people one warning, and I'm like, look, okay, don't share stuff like that. If I see it again, I'm unfriending you. And if you're all like, oh, how come you unfriended me? I'm like, you be sharing videos of people getting killed. So I'm like, I don't want to watch videos like that. I don't want to look at stuff like that. And me, I'm like, nah, it's just crazy. So, but anyways, yeah, I'm like, look, it's like, even then, I'm like, I talk on that stuff where I'm like, hey, it's messed up and things. It's crazy that be, like, happening and stuff. But like at the end of the day, it's kind of like comparing it to like a movie or a TV show. It's like, you ain't gonna watch no movie or a TV show like, oh, a person getting killed like that traumatizes me because I seen like imagine my thing is like imagine where we're in the movie theaters, right? We in the movie theaters, we're watching some like movie where somebody gets killed in the movie, and I stand up and I'm saying I don't want to watch this movie because I seen a person get killed in a video on Facebook. So therefore we gotta go. Movie just started. Movie, you just sat down, you waited for all the previews to end so you can eat your food, and your food is like semi-cold, but it's like you still eating it and enjoying it and stuff. But I like first few seconds in the movie, it shows somebody gets killed. I'm like, nope, can't watch this movie. I'm like, showed somebody getting killed. So I seen a video on Facebook, and I'm like, and I'm traumatized now. I'm triggered, and I'm like, I can't watch. You understand how frustrating that be? Where it's like now it's like you can't even watch, like we gotta watch like comedy movies or something. Even in comedy movies, people be getting killed and dying in there and stuff. So it's like at the end of the day, it's like that's the point that I'm trying to prove. It's like there's the real things that we should be talking about. I'm not gonna be like, oh, we can't watch Walking Dead because it promotes killing people. Like really, like if this is a TV show that you're a fan of, you've been watching this show for years, and then I step in place and be like, oh, you shouldn't be watching that show because it promotes people getting killed. You look at me like I'm crazy. So that's why I'm like, that's the point that I'm trying to prove. And I'm like, look, there's like, there's far more worse things that we should be talking on and worried about. Memes and jokes, that ain't nothing compared to what's really going on in the world. So I'm like I said, at the end of the day, I'm like, people that done died, became sacrifices and stuff that's, that you find offensive within these memes and jokes, then became sacrifices to this stuff. There's people in Black history and LGBTQ history that became sacrifices for the community that they're a part of, or for the history that they're a part of. So I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, which is worse, sharing a meme or, having to be that sacrifice? Because I would not want to be a sacrifice. I wouldn't want to, like, overall, like, my thing is like, I shouldn't have to die for my people or to die for a cause. The cause should just happen. It should just be something that the person thinks about, where it's like, oh, well, Black lives actually do matter. LGBTQ lives, they actually do matter. It shouldn't have to be, a transgender woman gets beaten on the bus or a black man gets shot and killed in the streets in order for a person to change. A person should just think of that stuff and be like, oh man, that's really messed up. So I'm like, yeah, at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, yo, look, there's other things to be worried about in life. I'm like, and memes and jokes ain't one of them. So, but anyways, I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, yeah, follow me on Twitter, TikTok. Well, make sure you like and subscribe if you're viewing this on YouTube. Follow, subscribe if you're viewing this on the podcast streaming service. Make sure you subscribe to one of my 32 YouTube channels. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitch at TMossBoss. Like my page on Facebook at TMossBoss fan page. My SeatGeek and Rogue Energy promo codes is TMossBoss. If you use those to get you either some like Rogue Energy drinks, or a cup or some powder, yeah, you can get it at a discounted price. And same with SeatGeek. Use my promo code TMossBoss, and yeah, you get your first purchase at a discount price, I believe, of $20. So yeah, and that being said, talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening, and peace.